I was just going to say, I know we said 12:15 and we have 4 minutes. I'm just going to go through some of this very first slide as we are waiting a couple of minutes. This is the
perfect. Why don't you recap?
Yes, this is the third of 4 sessions. The last session will be on September the 8th, and we will make sure that we know that we have a host before we go into that. And I do apologize for any problem. Today, Doug Iverson is going to be talking to us predominantly about different aspects of the ability to let go and some techniques that you can use. Up until this point, Rosemary's given us a great overview from June and Jim Spencer's information on the concept of the type of personality you may have. Are you somebody who focuses more on having, or focuses more on being, or focuses more on doing? We know from the last meeting that predominantly within this group, we tend to be people who focus on being. All of these characteristics have both strengths and weaknesses. For being people, because that is the bulk of us, it's the concept around not being good enough. For those who are doers, which was the second most predominant group, you are the ones that are always in a rush and a tear, as the quote, "Where is the Mona Lisa? Quick, I'm double parked," kind of reflects. And then those who focus more on having, their negative trait is the more I have, the more I want, the less I have. There are also positive characteristics of all of those that are on the that you can see on the slide, and we'll have a chance to review. And then we have a table that anybody who feels free to want to go through it, gives you a chance to look at what are you personally resisting, because so often when people are resisting something, be it positive or negative, especially the negative, there is some kind of payoff for you to continue to function in that mode. So it may be that, somebody else will do it for you, whatever that might be. And if you want to play around with what you're feeling with, this is a table that you can use. Okay, Doug, I am going to be quiet and I'm going to flip us on one more.
Okay, and just a reminder to people, because we're letting go and we are flowing with whatever happens here, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be flying through this material a little faster than I normally would. But guess what? The material that is being included in these presentations, and most of us have been reading books, doing workshops, practicing this stuff for years or decades. And we're going to go through a 5-question loop from the Sedona method, which comes out of a 2.5-day weekend. So this is obviously not, this is like when you do flashcards with your infant. You don't expect the infant to learn the alphabet that way. What you expect them to do is to get recognition and exposure, maybe. So this really is for you to take the PowerPoint, look at this stuff, play with it yourself. We've got links to other resources for you to get more background, and play. Because really, for me, as I grow in these things, I find that I have fewer and fewer beliefs and more practices. Like, it's really more about how I meet the moment. And the best lessons that I have these days are not new material. The best lessons that I have these days are old material that becomes freshly present. And think about it. I know I'm off topic, right? Kind of diverging from ironically diverging from the things we have so little time for. But briefly, NBA basketball stars shoot hoops. Concert pianists play scales. Guess what? The stuff that we sometimes benefit the most from is practicing the basics. So, coming back to the basics, what we started with in the past 2 sessions, one of the things we talked about was, there's a parable that a lot of us have heard about the grandchild and the grandparent talking, and the grandparent says, so inside of us, there's each a good wolf and a bad wolf. And the grandchild says, which one wins? And the grandparent says, the one that you feed. And, this is the model that a lot of us have grown up with. The law is our schoolmaster. We learn that we have our good and bad assessments, and we try to focus on the good, and we try to be the good, be the change we believe in. And that's great work. That's where we all need to start. And it doesn't go away completely. My invitation, the invitation of this presentation, is to look at getting the good wolf strong enough that the good wolf can companion and counsel the bad wolf. And I'm even going to put the word bad in quotes. We're going to do a process from the Sedona method. And the Sedona method doesn't even say positive and negative feelings. It says limiting and unlimiting. Like noticing whether the feeling I'm having right now is limiting me somehow. It's either giving me a small space or a small range. Or is it unlimiting me? Is it expanding my space and expanding my range of possible ways of being? Let's skip to the next slide, Kirsten. Briefly, we're going to talk about resourceful qualities, and this is a recurring theme in spiritual contexts. Like in Christianity, a phrase that's used is the fruit of the Spirit, is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. That's Galatians 5, verses 22 and 23. And in Hinduism, you hear talk about the chakras, which is Hindu mysticism. In body work, that comes up. In Buddhism, they talk about the four immeasurables. In Islam, there's the macabre. In Judaism, there's the tree of life, the Sephiroth, or outside of the Kabbalah, in Jewish tradition, there's the Sephirah. So these are recurring themes of resourceful qualities. Some people would say divine qualities. That's what Centers for Spiritual Living calls them. In Unity, they talk about the 12 powers. So these recurring themes. And guess what one of the most recurring themes is? Love. You see this over and over again. Love keeps coming up as a resourceful quality. And I'm summarizing some of the stuff that's going to be in this PDF that you can get later. Like, for example, when we say resourceful qualities, some of these resourceful qualities are meta qualities, like qualities that generate other qualities. Like, you can get access to love by learning to give yourself space or give another person space to be. And then you sense that there's love in the space because you're really just granting the other person the space to be. Or in presence, love can show up as a quality of presence. Relatedness, when you get related to things. Now, relatedness, there's a range of relatedness, all the way from being the third eye, like being the witness, being the awareness of things, in which case you are no thing, you're just the awareness of things, all the way to being connected to things, to feeling sometimes like you're being everything. If you've been playing with meditation for a while, that's one place you may have experienced that. So this range of relatedness, and love is the nature of relatedness. And then possibility, love is an inspiring possibility. When you stand in an affirmation like, I open the possibility of being loving. I open the possibility of loving, being here right now. Do I notice that possibility of being loving feels inspiring? Like it might even feel like energy coming into the body. So love is also accessible as an inspiring possibility of being. Well, let's skip to the next slide, Kirsten. Thank you very much. And I'm giving there's reference points to explore these qualities more. If you want to learn more about space, I suggest you look up Gangaji on YouTube. She does a lot about that. I love her work. I'm also going to put into the chat a playful link to a, whoops, pause that, Doug. Hello there. I'm putting a playful link in the chat to a YouTube video about the film Spirited Away, where he talks about the train scene and how there's the Japanese word for this is ma, like the sense of space, of room to breathe. And I love this particular video because presence is the quality, the feeling of it so well. Presence, if you read the book The Power of Now, that's a great book about presence, written by Tolle. I know his name is Eckhart Tolle, but I forget how to spell Eckhart. Somebody else could put that in the chat. Relatedness, we just talked about that. If you go to thejourney.com, this second statement under relatedness, opening in the core of whatever's here. that is a step that you can take to get related to the right now experience. Like, I allow the right now feeling. I go into the core of the feeling and open here in the core of the feeling. And opening in the core, I notice a relatedness to what's here. And that step comes out of the work of Brandon Bays. Her modality is the journey. So there's a link there. Possibility, there's a lot. Thank you, Michelle and Dallas. There's a lot about possibility that comes out of the Landmark work. I highly, highly recommend the work of Landmark Worldwide. It's a little less about healing yourself. It's a little bit more about creating your life. So it's very initiative focused. It's different from some of the other things that we talk about, but I highly recommend it. And Kirsten, we're going to skip to the next slide and preview it. And thank you very much. I invite people to take screenshots of this slide. Like, if you don't think you're going to get the PowerPoint, take a screenshot of this and paste it into Word or paste it into an email. These 5 questions are my fallback. Like, I try first to use the meta qualities on the previous page, and we're going to do something with those meta qualities. But first, we're going to do this Sedona Method 5-question loop. Rosemary, do you feel like being a volunteer today, or shall I call on Al? What's fitting right now? I know we're kind of in a rush today. What works? Rosemary.
I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you feel like playing with it in the Sedona Method playground here?
I want to play.
Okay, great. So I'm going to invite you to think of something, anything that might be coming up now or recently that right now feels like it has an emotional charge. And in this case, I'm going to ask you to not tell us the context. Do not tell us what it's about. And the reason why I'm asking you to do that is because this loop works even if you don't focus on the story, even if you don't focus on the details of the situation. Clearing yourself emotionally can have it be that you don't even have to let go of the goal sometimes. All you have to do is allow and release the emotional charge until you're at peace. Then you can pursue the same goal without attachment. You can have commitment without attachment. So, Rosemary, do you have something in mind in your feeling space that you want to play with right now?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
That's great. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, excellent. So just notice what your right now feeling is. And you know, a lot of people will go to, what's my story about this when you ask them what their feeling is. And you're so expert with this stuff. Just tell me the emotion quality of the feeling that's here.
Oh, feeling.
Like grief, like I'm going to give it a 9-point emotional chart right now, like apathy, grief. This is ag flap cap, and I'm going to put that in the chat. Ag.
It always goes to not good enough for me. Maybe frustration first.
Great. So, excellent. So, apathy, grief, fear,
lust,
fear comes. Which is sometimes, wanting. Great. So, I hear fear and I hear frustration. Anger. Pride.
At myself. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if that's a Freudian slip that I typed price instead of pride. Pride, courage, 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 acceptance, and peace. Ag flap cap.
Okay. It's definitely. Okay. So I've got frustration. Anger at myself.
Understandable.
And
sure.
It still boils down to that one big thing that I resist. And it's just so amazing. It's always, if I feel, if this is true, then I'm not good enough. Okay. So that's my bottom feeling.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, great. So let's go with either, and so just if you hear your inner voice saying not good enough, just for right now, does that feel more like grief or like fear or like wanting the not good enough?
Fear.
Fear. Okay, great. So allowing the fear right now, which one is most juicy right now? The fear, the anger, or the frustration? Which is most juicy right now?
Right now. Or
most present or most juicy?
recently, you're talking about when I was feeling it, because I've kind of got.
No, just the right now feeling, not how it was a minute ago or how it might be 10 seconds from now, but just for now, the right now feeling. Is it more presence that there's fear about that, anger about that, or frustration about that?
Oh, probably frustration.
Okay, great. So just for now, question number 2, could you allow that? Could you let that be a feeling, the feeling of frustration, however much it's here right now?
Can I allow myself to feel frustrated?
However much it feels right now. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Knowing that it's not who you are, it's just a feeling, and there's nothing right or wrong with it. It's just allowed. You're not making it into an attitude. You're not making it into a behavior. You're not acting out. You're just letting it be a feeling.
Yes.
Okay, great. And now, just letting yourself feel it, however much you do right now. Does it feel like you could let that go? Just could you? Does it feel possible?
Yes.
Okay,
Definitely.
great. And does it feel like you would let it go? Like, does it feel like there's a willingness to let it go?
Definitely, I feel willing to let it go.
Okay, great. And when? Now or not now?
Right now.
Okay, great. And letting it go however much you do, even allowing that release to happen as much as it does naturally, like you don't have to do or think a thing. And then you always end with question 1, what is the right now feeling? Is there still some residual frustration, or what's the right now feeling?
Right now, I'm feeling more at peace and present.
Okay, great. And does that feel more like courage, acceptance, or peace?
I think I've reached acceptance.
Great. So just to expand the playground even more, could you allow that feeling of acceptance to be here?
Yes.
And does it feel like something that you could let go of just to expand the playground even more? Could you?
Yes.
And would you let it go?
Yes.
And when?
Now.
Okay, great. And once that release feels complete, just check in. What is the right now feeling?
I'm feeling more peaceful with myself.
Even more peaceful. A lot of times you get to a place where somebody will let go and they get to love, and then you ask them if they'll let go again, and they're like, why? And what it ends up being is the kind of peace that you're in now ends up feeling like love in all directions. Like peace is the box that love occurs in, and peace is this huge container or even open space that any other experience can occur in. And thank you, Rosemary. You've been a great person to be in the hot seat, and I'm grateful.
Oh, you're welcome entirely. It really was helpful to me.
This is such a powerful technique. If you get practice with this, I've done like 100 releases in 2 hours when I was working on something like, oh, that relationship, and I'm releasing my feelings around that relationship with that girl, and now I'm processing stuff around my mother. Oh, and now I'm processing stuff around all women. So you get to the point where you're feeling freely, fully, and fluidly. So that it's not that you're making feelings go away when you let them go. It's just you're giving them space to be and freedom to flow. Okay, so this is the time. So I'm going to continue going because we started effectively around 12:10. I'm going to continue going. But I wanted to make sure that we got that process done before the 12:30 scheduled start time, end time, so that anybody who needs to leave at 12:30 can feel free to leave. But we're going to continue for another 10 minutes. Now, Kirsten, if you want to go back a slide. It's interesting how this works out. And I know that you had volunteered to be the person in the hot seat for another process where I want to play with these distinctions, these meta qualities. And again, we're calling them meta qualities because they're qualities that presence other resourceful qualities. And by the way, love is a meta quality as well. Because guess what? When you're present to love, aren't you present to, love is kind, love is patient, love is gentle. I mean, we're talking about 1 Corinthians 13 here. There's a lot of list of the fruit of the Spirit ends up being the same qualities that are on that list of the traits of love. So love is also itself a meta quality. So, Kirsten, do you have something you want to play with?
Sure.
So, okay, great. And again, don't tell us the story in this case, because the point of this is that the goal is not to get rid of a feeling. The goal is to give it space to be in freedom to flow, to feel fully, freely, and fluidly. And so space to be in freedom to flow sometimes looks like the feeling dissolves. But space to be in freedom to flow also sometimes looks like that the feeling simply reflavors, like the flavor of it changes. And sometimes space to be in freedom to flow looks like I own it. Like whatever it was, I'm now at ownership of it. And any of those three things, dissolving it, reflavoring it, or owning it, gives me some freedom around it so that it's not attachments and aversions. It's not clinging and resisting. Instead of it having me, I now have it. I have the experience instead of the experience having me. So that's the goal here. So playing with whatever you're playing with, Kirsten, could you first just give that space to be?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. And as you give space to be to that experience, notice if as you give an experience space to be and you even welcome it into the space, does it feel like it might be unwinding a bit? Like if there was any contraction in it, like it might be starting to decompress?
Actually, it opened it up more. It allowed it to be with
That's a great way to say that. Thank you. That's a great way to say that. Thank you. Okay, great. And now, if you haven't already, could you bring your own presence to this? Could you bring a sense of presence, being with it, it being with you?
Yes, I can do that.
And and I know that you as a meditator, a meditation mentor, have practiced in this. Like you're giving yourself a moment to be aware, and you also can notice that who you are right now, just for now, is a person being aware. And you can let yourself be present as one who is present. And a little sidebar here, I'm upgrading, we sometimes talk about being present, and I'm inviting people to be present and to be presence. Because presence, Eckhart Tolle talks a lot about this in The Power of Now. Our presence, our being, gives us access to lots and lots of resourceful qualities. Like in the present moment, being our being, we discover resourceful qualities show up in that. Some of us who are into more of a theistic context would speak of God's presence, like Isaiah 41:10. So do not be afraid, for I am with you. Or Psalm 41 verse 10. No, I'm getting that wrong. That's Psalm 43. I got my 41s mixed up. I think it's Psalm 43. Be still and know that I am God. By the way, notice how powerful it is when you flip it. Know that I am God and be still. Like when I'm knowing God as God, stillness just shows up. So a little digression there for those of us who are in a theistic context often. Those of us who are not in a theistic context, just ask you to honor where we are about that. So relatedness. Kirsten, allowing yourself to have relatedness right now, allowing the right now feeling, can you go into the core of whatever's here? Can you let yourself relax and go right into the core of it? Great, I see you nodding. And open here, right in the core of it. Great. And opening in the core of it, do you sense yourself getting related to what's here?
Very much so, yes.
Okay,
It's
excellent.
It's enveloping, but it's safe to allow it to be all around.
And something that we didn't put on the page is you get related to what's here. Notice if there's also a felt knowing that shows up. Like it might not occur as intellectual information, but you have a sense of what's here. You have a felt knowing.
Yep.
Like you allow what's here, you go into the core of it, you open to the core of it, relatedness shows up, and then knowingness shows up. Okay, great. And lastly, let's play with bringing a possibility to this. And I'm going to say 8 possibilities, Kirsten, and I just want you to notice which one resonates for you most now. Like, I open the possibility of being grounded. I open the possibility. Okay, I know I'm going a little fast here.
No, that's okay. I would actually say a connectedness, but very closely is an awareness. And honestly, I would use the phrase a loving awareness. But those two are
okay.
ones that are there.
Great. So does it fit to say to yourself, I open the possibility of loving awareness?
Yes. Yep.
And just welcome the experience. Notice the now. Let energy in. And by the way, we often think of inspiring possibilities as a source of energy, like it amps us up. But these same possibilities of being are also vast spaces in which to rest. So it brings us back to space. So play with possibilities that are either restful or inspiring, because there is a partnership between rest and inspiration. So I am declaring that that's mostly what we have time for. The practice playing with these resourceful qualities. Notice what other resources they give you access to. Use these to empower the good wolf to the point where the good wolf is strong enough that you can have the good wolf and the quote unquote bad wolf, or to use the Sedona method language, the limiting wolf and the unlimiting wolf, and let them coexist and affect each other. And guess what? You do not have to make love win. You can just let love be with whatever else your experience is and let love do what it does. You don't have to make love win. As you practice these meta qualities, as you begin to know that these meta qualities are more deeply what I feel, these meta qualities are bigger than what I feel, and these meta qualities are more real than what I've been feeling without them. So this sense of them being bigger, deeper, and more real makes it so that you don't have to make love win. All you have to do is let love be with whatever you've got going on and let love do what it does. And I'm declaring that complete. Anything else, Kirsten, that you'd like to share?
There's nothing that I feel I need to share. I think it's a great way to work through whatever is coming up and staying with it and allowing yourself to be safe within it.
Okay, excellent. Okay, beautiful people. Thanks very much for being together with us on this. And again, we'll make the PowerPoint available in the Compassion and Mindfulness Facebook group. Be well. Love energy to you all.
We'll be back next week.
Yep.
Thank you. Oh, and Karma is going to be on Here and Now at 2:30 on Go/X. Karma has a new Here and Now broadcast coming up at 2:30 on Go/X.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, folks.